Shalom and welcome to Israeli Salad. Today's program is being recorded as Israel's northern cities are being bombarded by Hezbollah missiles. Today, when we say northern cities, we're including cities like Haifa and Tveria or Tiberias that have never been considered cities in the northern battlefront. And meanwhile, southern Israel is still continuously being bombarded by rockets fired by terrorists in the Gaza Strip. Today's program will be dedicated to northern Israel. We will take a look at some of our reports that featured Galilean communities, sites in the Golan Heights, the Haifa Rambam Hospital, and more. We hope and pray for better days. If you're watching us from northern or southern Israel, we hope our program will strengthen you. If you're watching us from abroad, please join us in our prayers for peace and victory. Let's begin with today's program. Shalom. Hezbollah with their missiles have been targeting two of the four traditional holy cities of the land of Israel, Tveria, Tzfat, Jerusalem, and Hebron. This past weekend, Tveria and Tzfat suffered from the continuous bombardment of rockets. Many of the victims of the missile attacks, especially those injured in the coastal city of Haifa, were rushed to the Haifa Rambam Hospital. Now, part of being a doctor in Israel includes being prepared for emergency situations like those we are currently experiencing. Doctors from abroad decided to come and learn from their Israeli counterparts about dealing with terror. The course was held in the Rambam Hospital.
As a nation, Israel has had well more than its share of mass medical casualties, whether from war, terrorism, or even automobile accidents. However, from these tragedies there is a positive. Israel's medical professionals have become world-renowned experts in trauma medicine, and so it is that the 6th International Course on Developing and Organizing a Trauma System is being held over the next 4 weeks at Rambam Healthcare Campus in Haifa.
We are the busiest trauma center in Israel, which means we hospitalize about 4,500 trauma patients a year, and we had our share of mass casualties during the last years.
We offered the opportunity of learning how to organize and how to manage a trauma system to medical communities throughout the world.
Obviously, there are many doctors who would benefit from such a program. So who gets selected?
These are candidates that were chosen from 100. There's 26 candidates here, are chosen from 100 applications. We try to see, first of all, if they understand what we teach in the course, why they are here, and then we try to see if they can change something, if they are senior enough to have the ability to change in their countries the system or to develop it.
As a country, Israel tries to make inroads in many ways, forging ties through generosity.
3 years ago, the State of Israel donated a trauma center to Ghana. It is located in one of the teaching hospitals, and the doctor who is on this course here works in that hospital.
The students don't pay a penny. They get their board in a hotel, they have everything here, they tour over the country, they have a beautiful knowledge of what Israel is about at the end of the course, and they pay nothing.
With the devastation caused by the recent tsunami, Israel made sure Indonesia was represented.
In Indonesia right now, there's many mass casualty and trauma, and also. And Indonesia, I must be honest that Indonesia there is no system. There is a system, but not good. No, not really good. So I hope I can learn much in this trauma course, and I will bring that in my country.
At the end of the course, these dedicated young professionals will be ready to return to their own countries, taking a piece of Israeli know-how with them.
I mean, the final work that they have to present to us is actually a trauma system, a mini trauma system that he has prepared according to what he has learned here for his country.
So, where are they from again?
Buenos días. I work in Hospital Nacional de Niños Benjamin Blum. I am from El Salvador.
My name is Gustavo Roldan. I work in Calderon Guardia Hospital in San Jose, Costa Rica.
I'm Pon Sin. I'm from Chiang Mai, Thailand. Namaskar, that's how we greet in India.
My name is Joel, I come from Singapore.
Halo, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi in Indonesia or in Bahasa.
Reporting from Rambam Healthcare Campus here in Haifa, for Israeli Salad, I'm David Miller.
Muchas gracias.
Before we continue with some tourist sites in the north, let's take a look at the IDF activities. One of the basic concepts of Jewish belief is combining prayer and the unconditional faith in God with the understanding that we must make our own hishtadlut, effort, on the physical level. And so when we take a unique look at an IDF exercise, we must remember that Israel's victory comes, first of all, from God. The Israeli Defense Forces conducts exercises throughout the year, but twice a year they engage in this unique exercise in which the various and differing army divisions cooperate in one event.
The Israeli Defense Forces is the only armed forces of the Jewish and the Israeli people around the world. We must be ready for all kind of threats. That's why we are ready always to fight in high intensity conflicts and against low intensity threats.
The exercise or display began with one single tank that entered the hostile area. The function of this entry is an initial intelligence gathering procedure that precedes the attack or invasion. In order to pull out from this hostile area, the tank creates a cloud of smoke to mask its retreat. This vehicle and some of its unique capabilities were publicized for the first time in this exercise. The role of this vehicle is to create a minefield. It does so by scattering explosives throughout the area. This vehicle places mines. The job of removing the mines belongs to the IDF Engineering Corps, whose soldiers are in charge of clearing the area and making it safe for the arrival of other forces. Especially in these days when the main enemy is terrorism in heavily populated areas, the techniques of urban combat are critical, even when tanks and helicopters are taking part in the strike. And here's a terrorist being apprehended by the infantry forces. But don't worry, in this case it's just an actor.
The main enemy today is the terror. And we are fighting terror daily, and we will be ready to fight, to protect and to guard against any enemy along the Israeli border.
This tank is recreating a crisis situation wherein the tank has been hit by hostile fire. Swiftly, the infantry forces rescue the tank crew, and a very large armored bulldozer, also known as the D9, simply moves aside the vehicle, clearing the way for the forces. The exercise was summed up as a success, and the participants expressed their hope that they will use these maneuvers for the exercises only, and that there will be no need to use this force in combat. The event ended with a surprise, as the audience learned of the efficiency of camouflage, when they discovered that a group of soldiers was situated right in front of them, and only at the end of the event, when the group stood up, were they noticed under their camouflage. And we really wish good luck to the IDF. Now, let's tour the north. And now David Miller takes us up north where honey, silk, and marzipan is manufactured. Marzipan, by the way, is a paste made with ground almonds and sugar. This paste can be modeled into almost any shape you want. Let's take a look.
Israel has always been known as the land of milk and honey. That is until now. Because today, and today only, I'm officially changing it to the land of silk and honey. Why, you ask? Because, well, frankly, I'm the reporter here. When you're the reporter, you can call it what you want. So, off I went to the lower Galilee, to a little place in the shadows of beautiful Mount Tabor called Shtemot Devorah. Greeted by some rather unusual creatures on arrival, it is just a brief diversion because just inside and up the road a bit, sweet things await you. Here, the Peled family has farmed the land for 5 generations. Today, they've created a whole new way of survival.
14 years ago, the agriculture was collapsing in Israel, and we were just raising chickens and raising bees, but it was not enough. And then one day I got up in the morning and just like that decided, let's take our professions. My husband is a beekeeper and I'm an art teacher. Let's show people what we are doing. I'm making silk, you're making honey, let's show it to people.
So then I saw an opportunity to worm my way into a whole new world, a world of silk. Malka, how does one make silk?
I'm taking the cocoons which were boiled for 20 minutes. Before boiling they are looking like that. They are very hard and it is impossible to open it. But if you want to take the fibers out, we have to boil them in water. After 20 minutes they are looking like that. And then if I'm taking one of them in my hands, I can open all the fibers of it, 1,000 meters of fibers in each of them. One of the strongest fibers in the world.
As you peruse the store for various silk and honey goodies, your senses are on full alert because the tastes are delicious and the silk is, well, it's silky. So much so that I can hardly bear it. The trend of agritourism has taken root in these parts, and so off I went to seek new examples of this trend. This must be a lecture of some kind. Quantum physics, perhaps? History, maybe? Nope. This is the Marzipan Museum. In a country that has more museums per capita than any other in the world, it would stand to reason that they should have such a place.
I give them a lecture about the history of the marzipan, geographically about the marzipan, and of course even from the Bible, since Jacob, we starting the marzipan, the almonds and the rest.
We have visitors, children who come who want to play with the marzipan in the marzipan workshop. We have pensioners who come who want to taste it and also do make marzipans themselves. We have buses of school children who learn about the almond tree, especially at Tu B'Shvat.
It's no accident that the Marzipan Museum is located here. Some of the finest almonds in the world are grown right here in the shadow of Mount Tabor. Once harvested, the nuts are ground into a fine powder and added to a boiling hot sugar syrup. Once mixed, it's allowed to cool for about 2 days. The tasty paste is then ready to eat, or in this case, ready to sculpt into an amazing array of items. Here is our head of state. And here I found a few kings. This one took a lot of labor. And these guys must be seasoned politicians too. This was the only marzipan that left a bad taste. So, if you find yourself in the Lower Galilee, make a wise decision and pay the Marzipan Museum a visit.
Now we're off to Ramat HaGolan, the Golan Heights. When I was a teenager, the Golan was the place to go. We'd get together, take sleeping bags, and hike through the streams and mountains from morning to night. Ramat HaGolan is, of course, not only for teenagers. You should never let a visit to Israel go by without visiting the Golan. First, let's visit a winery in the community of Kidmat Tzvi in the Golan Heights. The basalt-rich grounds of the Golan Heights, the unique Golan climate, and special production methods, this is what lies behind the secret of the Golan Heights wines. A few days before the joyous festival of Purim, when it's customary to celebrate by drinking wine, we went up to the Golan Heights to see from close how the wine is being produced. Yoav Levy has been living in the magnificent Golan Heights for 21 years already. He established a boutique winery. This winery produces more than 30,000 bottles a year and includes 130 wine barrels. Every morning, Yoav reaches his orchard to check the crops. The hard labor has its fruit.
Each row gives a different kind of fruit in terms of the sugar levels and taste.
The grapes arrive at the winery around an hour after being harvested.
The grapes go through a crusher. A crusher is able to sift away the unnecessary parts of the grapes. It all goes into a pump that transfers the concentrated wine into the vessels where it ferments for around 10 days.
Since the winery became kosher, business has only improved.
Due to the kosher supervision, we started exporting to the U.S. What can I tell you? Turns out that the kashrut brings blessing. And it's great not working on Shabbat. I have time for my family.
Groups and families are invited to tour the winery in Kidmat Tzvi. Yoav has two pieces of advice for drinking wine.
Drink and enjoy, but don't exaggerate. And remember, this is Israel, and we are Zionists. We try to always buy blue and white products, Israeli products. And so, if you drink blue and white wines, that'll be good for us all.
Okay, so now that we sipped some wine, it's time to get intoxicated by the northern view. Enjoy the tour. A ride on the roads of the Golan Heights is always an astonishing experience. Restaurants, hotels, horse ranches, wineries, and a lot of water and flowers. The tour trails in the Golan Heights are classified by level of difficulty. Today, we're on a family trail.
For families, we recommend the Zavitan stream. It takes around 3 hours. Relatively speaking, it's easy. On the trail, there's waterside flora, streaming water, large pools of water, a big waterfall, and of course, the magnificent landscapes of the flourishing Golan.
The Carmelit Na'ah, or the Egyptian honesty, can be seen in full blossom in the Yahudia part of the Zavitan Nature Reserve.
The Carmelit Na'ah is part of the crucifery family of flowers. You find many carpets of flowers here on the upper section of the Zavitan. In the springtime, we can see the flourishing of the woody spurge. The Chatzav flowers, or the squills, have already blossomed, and now we can only see their leaves. The flowers are now already preparing themselves for next year's blossoms.
A walk through the Zavitan stream is suitable for all ages. As we proceed on the hike, we discover the large water ponds. A short drive and a 40-minute walk bring us to the largest waterfall in the area. This water continues from here to Lake Kinneret.
The characteristic of the Golan Heights is that all the water that flows in this area eventually reaches the Kinneret. There's hardly any water that stays in the Golan. 2/3 of the water comes from the Jordan River sources, the Dan, the Chatzpani, and the Banyas, and 1/3 of it from the Golan streams. This is good quality water that reaches the Kinneret.
The abundance of water is what created the marsh at the entrance to the community of Nov. Here, you can find the Grant Duff's Iris Nature Reserve. South from Nov, we visit the Avnei Eitan community. Here we meet the farm animals. From the animals, we continue to the artists. The Amyam community hosts an artist town. Each house is an art gallery.
This is a community where by coincidence many artists have gathered. Eventually we established an artist town in which we create and sell our work.
כפר אומנים זה שהוא חלום שנרקם ביישוב בין כמה אנשים
This artist town was a dream. There were many artists here working in improvised temporary studios.
יוצר באיזושהי מחולה, במחסן האחורי, בבית, היה מפנה איזשהו חדר בשביל ליצור, היה יוצר ומגיעים אליו אנשים.
So that was our short visit to the Golan Heights of Ramat HaGolan. We'll be back up here again soon. And now let's end with another tourist site. We're off to Beit She'arim.
Shalom, Yoni, and welcome. Today we have a very special treat. We're here at Beit She'arim. It's an Israeli national park. It's just outside Kiryat Tivon, or outside of Haifa. It's a magnificent archaeological site, a cemetery which was originally founded in about 220 years following the destruction of the temple. It ran for about 150 years, and a very common theme, it was destroyed by the Romans. Let's take a look inside. The Beit She'arim complex was rediscovered in 1936 by Alexander Zaid, one of the founders of the defense organization HaShomer. He actually discovered the first burial cave by accident. Zaid was murdered in 1938 by an Arab terrorist. His statue now watches over the Israel Valley atop Beit She'arim. The Jewish city of Beit She'arim was at its peak from the 2nd to the 4th century. The ruins of the synagogue are located just outside the entrance to the Beit She'arim National Park. The citizens of Beit She'arim carved a cemetery into the side of a mountain, creating splendid and extensive catacombs used for the burial of the leading citizens of the day. The catacombs are lined by passages which creates an underground city of the dead. The entrances are ornamented with stone carvings and space for mourners. Now we come to one of the most interesting parts of the entire complex. This particular tunnel is over 200 yards deep and lined with highly ornate sarcophagi. Let's take a look. The ornamentation is not without a purpose. So what can the dead tell us? Well, apparently quite a lot. These carvings are literally messages. For example, these carvings highlight the Hellenistic link to the Jewish culture during this period. As you can see, the sarcophagi are covered with symbols, some Jewish, some not. The most noteworthy grave found at Beit She'arim is that of the author of the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi transferred his place of Torah study, or Beit HaMidrash, and the Jewish court, or Sanhedrin, from Shfar'am here to Beit She'arim, and with that established Beit She'arim as the spiritual center of the day. This is the actual gravesite of the legendary Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi and his wife, whose name we're not sure of. Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi's grave matches his last request found in his will, in which he asked that his wife and his grave be the only ones located in the ground. Also found here in the cave of Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi are a select number of very special people. This is the grave of Rabbi Gamliel, who was his son and his successor. Beit She'arim was destroyed in the 4th century. During this period, the Jews rebelled against the Roman governor Gallus. Very few details exist about the revolt, but it seems the city was destroyed during the subjugation following this rebellion, a tragedy repeated throughout the history between Rome and the Jews.
Okay, that's all for this week. We can only end by wishing us all a Shavua Tov V'Shaket, a quiet and peaceful week. Shalom.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה. והיה השם למלך, הכל הארץ, נא 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 נא, ביום ההוא יהיה. השם אחד ושמו אחד,